Welcome to Fuel Her Awesome, the nutrition pep talk to supercharge your week. I'm Jess, registered dietitian and empowered eating coach, here to help you take your health to that next level. In these bite-sized episodes, we cut right through the noise and blend science with biofeedback and values, all while teaching you how to trust your intricately and beautifully designed body. Because here's the deal, you are awesome, and life is an invitation to show up that way. But you can't do it without food. So let's lean in as we explore how to fuel your awesome with empowered eating. Well, hello, beautiful. Welcome back to the Fuel Her Awesome show. I'm so grateful that you took time out of your day to be here today. We are going to dive into an empowered eating pep talk, specifically looking at gut health and its connection to mental health. So we'll be diving into some education. We got some storytelling and definitely some takeaway empowered eating tips for today. So yeah, super glad you're here. Hey, last week we talked about the nervous system and how we can regulate our nervous system to improve not only our life, but our gut health specifically. And so this week we're talking about that connection between our gut health and our mental health, because I think, so often we look at all of our issues, whether it's mental health or our lab work is off or our gut health is off. We look at those issues in these silos, but really our body is all interconnected. And so I think it's cool to walk through all of this back to back, because nervous system regulation equals better gut health, and better gut health equals better mental health, and better mental health means we have more capacity for physical health. So yeah, I'm excited you're here. We're going to get some good stuff done today. So the first decade of my career, I spent my time in nutrition in the field of mental health. And I helped a lot of people work on their relationship with food. And I still do this. I mean, this is the crux of the empowered eating model. However, I don't think it was the whole picture. And as I got farther along in my career and more research has come out, we now know that your gut health has a direct line to your mental health. And so learning to piece those two treatments together is really, really powerful. I mean, they're doing some really crazy stuff. This might gross you out, but I think it's really interesting. They are doing fecal transplants in folks with eating disorders, because they found individuals with anorexia have such low microbes. They have so few microbes inside their gut that it's not supporting their ability to fight depression, fight anxiety, and fight their disorder. So they're doing these fecal transplants and finding that it's working. It is helping them respond to their therapeutic treatment better. So now I know these go hand in hand, and I think we're doing a disservice when we don't address both. So this is my plea. If you're working on your relationship with food, this is so wonderful and so important, but it is only a piece of the puzzle, and we really need all parts of the equation to help you become your whole person, healthiest self, both mentally and physically. And I will say I felt this firsthand in my life right after my first son was born. You've probably heard me talk about this before. He came into my life, and at that point I had really worked hard on my relationship with food. And so I was in a really good spot where I wasn't feeling guilty about what I did or didn't eat. I didn't have this pressure to eat a certain way. I was starting to adjust to a different body. A post-baby body is very different. And so I was in a really great space from that angle. However, my energy was awful. And I think because my energy was so low, I didn't have the mental resiliency I was hoping to have in that season of life. And that's when I really started to dive in and learn more about taking care of my own gut health. So here is how I think about the gut health, mental health connection. I think of it like a tune. So imagine you're driving down the freeway, and this has happened to me before. I'm going down, we have two major highways in our city, and they always seem to be doing construction. So they're doing construction on the major highway, and it's a pain in the butt because it takes a really long time. Now imagine I've got my two little boys in the back, and they are just screaming. They're into this Italian brain rot. Have y'all heard this? If you have kiddos or nieces or nephews in elementary school, you probably have heard this before. It is, I don't even know how to explain it. It's brain rot. It's not even words. It's just like sounds mushed together with animals and random colors and things. It's really quite weird. So anyways, back to my analogy. So imagine you're driving down a construction integrated highway. You got two kids in the back screaming this really obnoxious but catchy song. The air conditioning isn't working. Now somebody cuts me off. I am going to be much more inclined to have a strong reaction to that person cutting me off because my environment is it's pre-agitated. Like I'm already stressed and anxious because the kids are yelling that annoying song. The construction is just always annoying and the temperature's off. Now replay that scenario. Now I'm on a different highway with no construction. Whew, isn't that a breath of fresh air? My kids are in the back. They're actually talking to me. They're not singing that obnoxious song. They're asking me how my day was, and the air conditioner is on and it's on point. Now somebody cuts me off. My aura is in a different space. Like I'm just much more likely to have patience with that scenario. It's still very annoying that someone cut me off. However, my capacity is expanded. And this is how I think about our gut health. It doesn't change the fact that things happen in our life or that we're going through stressful situations, but it changes the tune and the environment in our brain that can impact our resiliency to what is happening around us. So that gut-brain axis, our gut is always talking to our brain, and vice versa. Our brain is always talking to our gut. So it's a relationship that we really want to harbor and support, especially when we're in a season of wanting to take better care of ourselves. So here's what makes this so difficult. When we are in a season of high stress, when we're driving down construction-packed highways with kids yelling in the back of the car, whether it's literally or metaphorically, this activates that nervous system that we talked about last week. It activates that fight or flight branch of our nervous system. And when this happens, our brain starts to operate in this more survivalistic sense, and it starts to release stress hormones. So we have more cortisol and adrenaline running through our body, and this has a really strong impact on our gut health. What it does is it will actually reduce digestive capacity. And so a lot of times I'll have folks tell me, like, when I'm stressed, I just don't, I get full really fast, or I tend to have loose stools. I don't sleep as well. A lot of that has to do with the fact that your body's so busy pumping out cortisol and adrenaline that it just doesn't have the blood flow and the resources to fully digest our food. Another thing that happens when we're stressed is that our stomach muscles tighten. And so that adrenaline dump can actually increase the muscle tone in your GI tract, which feels like this tightening or knots in our stomach. And just imagine like the posture of your gut, that gut muscle. If it's tight and tense, it's really not going to be receiving food as it would it be if it were relaxed or in a more just open, calm state. We have increased gut sensitivities during this time. The gut and the brain talk through something called the vagus nerve, and under stress, that signaling can become hypersensitive. So this can amplify GI discomfort, bloating, nausea, even if we have normal digestion. And of course, this causes a shift in our microbiome, those gut bugs that we talk so much about. Chronic stress can actually shift the gut microbiota towards a more inflammatory profile, which ultimately affects digestion. And ultimately, when we don't have as many microbes, that changes what's available to our brain. So it's really this like cyclic interaction where the stress comes down from our brain into our stomach motility and capacity shifts, and then we don't have as many resources to send back to our brain to support our brain. So how do we break this cycle? What do we do? I am a firm believer that no matter our circumstance, we still have autonomy over our body, and we can choose how we care for ourselves and what we focus on, even in stressful seasons. And I've seen this in my own life. I'm working with several clients right now that are just going through hell on earth and turmoil in their homes, in their jobs, in their careers. And those seasons, they are so hard and they are challenging and they will stretch us. And when we control what we can in those settings, we set ourselves up to have more resiliency. And so when we're in a season of stress, we can really lean in to some of these tips I'm going to go over on caring for our gut. And they're going to go a long way, because what they do is they help limit some of those changes that happen in our gut so that we have more resiliency to manage and walk through life. Guys, life is hard. It is, none of us get out of life unscathed. We really don't. And I'm a pretty peppy person, but I really do believe life is like the whole human experience involves good and bad. You know, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty analogy? I don't really like that, because the reality is when we have a glass, it's both half full and half empty. I mean, that is the ultimate human experience, is that we have both the good and the hard. And to not acknowledge that would be to lie to ourselves. Both happen in our world. And so when we are going through life, whether we're in a glass half empty season or a glass half full season, our body and our gut deserve these tools so that when the half empty season comes, we have what we need to push through. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 ways to support your mental health with nutrition. And I'm going to fly through some of these at more of like a bird's eye view, because I want you guys to get the big picture, and then we can talk about some of the nitty-gritty stuff at the end. So we've got 3 big ones here. Number 1, micronutrition for your brain health. So this is just quality nutrients that support neurotransmitter production, like serotonin, which is our happy hormone, dopamine, GABA, which is our relaxation neurotransmitter. These are going to regulate mood and cognition, and we really need B vitamins to support that, especially needing those B6, B12, and folate vitamins. Omega-3 fatty acids, this is another huge one. Most Americans don't get enough of this. I don't get enough of this. I will be the first to admit I am not having salmon every week like I wish I did. If I lived on the coast, that might be different. But omega-3 fatty acids are crucial for brain cell membranes, and they keep our brain cells flexible. I think of it like lotion for your brain. So this is going to support learning, memory, and overall cognitive function. If our body is in a state of mental or physical stress, the body doesn't know the difference, whether it's mental or physical. But when we are, our body needs more of that brain lotion to manage what is going on. Zinc is another big one. This is essential for neurotransmitter function and brain signaling. So when our brain is in that stress response and it's hyperactive, we need more zinc to be able to pump through the thoughts and the cognitions that we are working through in our brain. Selenium's another one. This acts as an antioxidant, and it protects brain cells from oxidative stress while also supporting thyroid function. Magnesium's another big one. This one is all over social media and news. This one, I feel like we've really gotten the message. We need magnesium. But there are different types depending on what the struggle is, whether it's more of like a gut health issue or a mental health concern. There are different types of magnesium available that we can provide our body with depending on the specific need. And then finally, iron. Iron delivers oxygen to brain cells, and it's needed for that neurotransmitter production. So, we're eating B vitamins to produce the neurotransmitters, but we need iron to pull and give them oxygen. So during times of stress, I think it's a really cool time to lean on some of our supplements. Obviously, food comes first, and I think the way God made food is irreplaceable and cannot be recreated in supplements. However, when we are in seasons of stress or times where we're stretching ourselves thin, supplements are a great way to leverage modern science to support us and increase our capacity during those seasons. I will say, in the really busy seasons of my life where my husband was on call 24/7, so he was often gone. I had 2 babies, a leadership role at my job. It was a really stressful time, and I just didn't have the time to prepare meals the way I wanted to prepare meals. I was often eating in the car, on the go, getting drive-through. Guys, I was doing the best I could. So this was a season where I leaned into my supplement stack, and I let my food kind of check the big boxes. Like, I checked my protein, I checked my carbohydrates, I did the best I could with fruits and vegetables, but I knew I wasn't getting this micronutrition to support my brain. So I built a supplement stack to help me as I navigated that season. So I share that because I really think Supplements are a hot topic, and I really believe in them for that reason. I think they are a great addition to our routine, especially in these seasons when we just, our capacity is limited because life is hard. It's really hard. Okay, so that's number one, micronutrition for brain health. Number two is getting in the details of nutrition for gut health. There are two major things our gut loves. That is polyphenols and fiber. Polyphenols are potent antioxidants. So they go into your gut, and I just think of them like classical music in your gut. Like they are just giving your intestines this wonderful, calming presence, and they're also feeding the healthy bacteria within your gut. Fiber attached to that amplifies it. So when we have these two things together, we're really providing our gut bugs with the nourishment they need to build and grow stronger and have a really strong army supporting us inside our intestines. So you get polyphenols and fiber from anything that is God-made with color. So think green tea, berries, oranges, all of these things have different types of polyphenols and fiber. Now, the most potent ones are going to be the ones with the deepest color. So like berries and green tea are really, really wonderful ways to check both of these boxes. All right, so that's number two, details of nutrition for gut health, looking at how we can get those details in the food that we are eating. And going back to this just real quick, the green tea thing, I'm a huge fan of green tea. It is an easy way to add that into our regular routine. And you can, replace a couple cups of coffee with some green tea. If you're like me, you might have like a little visceral resistance to that because I love my coffee. And I think to myself, green tea is not coffee, Jess. Like you cannot trick me, but I could swap out one cup and put some green tea in there and give my body a little bit of classical music for the day. All right, number three is our relationship with food. I started with this, and I do think it's so important to touch on because it is such a big piece of the puzzle. How much of our relationship with food is about coping versus fuel? And I think for many of us, eating or even not eating, right? Like the lack thereof eating becomes a way that we manage stress. And honestly, it's unrealistic to say that we will never eat emotionally again, or we'll never not, abstain from eating because of emotions. I think that's unrealistic. That's like saying we'd never impulse buy or drive for the sake of it. Sometimes we do what we need to do to regulate ourselves in the moment. But I think when that's the primary coping tool, or it's our default or quick go-to coping tool, that's where we get ourselves into a pickle. So while I would not define a healthy relationship with food as one that totally excludes emotional eating altogether, I do think it's about awareness. I think if we think of food like a relationship with a person, a healthy one isn't perfect, but it is balanced. That means there's going to be some give and some take. Sometimes we eat for fuel and sometimes for comfort, sometimes for fun, sometimes for convenience. What matters most isn't perfection here, but it is a foundation where we approach food with both this balance of eating for fuel and stability and safety and respecting our body's needs so that if and when we use it as a coping tool, it's not totally devastating. So I don't think it's emotional eating something that is ever fully off the table. And I think there are ways to come to a really great balance with that. But for the most part, it needs to not be our primary coping tool. I know I've had seasons where this balance was off, like I've swung way too far on the rigid health rules or leaning too heavily on food for comfort. And so that's why the real work is finding that middle ground. It's finding that balance between discipline and permission. And we do that by getting clear on our values. This is going back to the heart of empowered eating and going back to how we define healthy, what our big picture health vision looks like, and being able to align our day-to-day choices with that bigger picture. Okay, so I told you I was going to fly through these. Woo, you with me? We have three major ways we can support our gut health when it comes to nutrition. One, micronutrients. Two, looking at some of those details in our nutrition. And number three, establishing a really healthy relationship with food. So when stress hits, we have alternative coping tools. and we can still take care of our body in the midst of that. And, I've seen this I've had the privilege of sitting with folks in many different seasons. And one of the coolest things to see is when somebody does the work with their relationship with food and then a stressful season hits and they're able to weather it because of the work they did in the in-between season. So it is definitely worth it, whether you are in a season of stress or a season of in-between or an awesome season, wherever you're at. The energy you spend working on this balance is never wasted. It will always, always be something that supports and serves you. Oh man, I love this. I could talk about this for a long time, but we're going to keep these podcasts right under 30 minutes so that you get your empowered eating pep talk and you are on your way for the rest of the day. I did put a really cool resource together for you guys that you can download in the show notes. I have a quick guide on building a base supplement stack. So if you want to snag that below, I would love for you to get in your supplement cabinet, find out what you need, what you don't need. And I'd love to share with you what my favorite base supplement stacks are that can really help build the gut health and your overall resiliency. Oh, and one more quick note on this, because I really do believe if we supplement smart, we can leverage modern day science to help us age well. They did this really awesome study on over 108 individuals and tracked them over several years. And they tracked it came out to something like 1 billion health markers at the end of it, but they did lab work, stool samples, they tracked all their microbes and they plotted them on this graph. And they wanted to know, like, does our biology change slowly over time as we age, or are there specific like time frames where we have a dramatic shift? And they actually found there are dramatic shifts at specific times in our lives, and it's right around our mid 40s and early 60s. And so the takeaway from that was that these are crucial times in our life to really adjust how we care for our body. And I do think supplementation and learning how to provide our body what it's not naturally getting or what it may be naturally losing just because we're getting older and we're going around the sun more, I think it's a really powerful way to take care of our body and expand our resiliency. So just a little sidebar there on learning more about how to care for our body as we age, and those microbes just kind of naturally change. Supplementation and aligning that supplementation with our own biology is really, really powerful. So I have that resource below. And of course, we are doing GI maps for our clients where we can actually dive into this with you in a one-on-one session. And they're really powerful because it helps us see your specific biology blueprint and create a plan, not just supplements, but food as well, and lifestyle changes, and how we can build that plan to go into the next season, whether it's stressful or not, but with the healthiest gut possible. All right, my friend, I'm so glad you stopped by today. I hope that today you take away something to boost your gut health with. Give your gut bugs something wonderful today. And just know that when you do, they're going to be screaming thank you by sending your brain some byproducts that help expand your resiliency. They're going to create that beautiful tune inside your brain. I hope you have a beautiful day today. I will see you next Monday. Cheers and happy eating. That's a wrap on today's Empowered Eating Pep Talk. If this hits home, be sure to leave a review and share it on your social media, tagging me at JessBrownRD. And girl, if you're ready to take your nutrition and mindset to that next level, I would love to get to know you more. Head on over to JessBrownRD.com to explore things like the Well-Fueled Academy, one-on-one coaching, and all the free resources I have to help you live, eat, and fuel your awesome. Until next time, sister, have an amazing day. Cheers and happy eating.